Yeah, you're listening to Jonesy's Jukebox on KLOS with my guest, Chris Jericho,
Yes.
with a nice cup of coffee. How do you
Yeah.
get coffee? They never give me anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's in my contract. It said I have to get
It's
one
in your
cup of
rider.
coffee, and that's it. I asked for a couple grand. They said you could have a cup of coffee. I said, okay, I'll take it.
So you just got here.
I did. I had a weird morning. I slept in, and I missed the original flight, and then deftly changed it to a connection that got me in about 45 minutes ago. And I told the guy, dude, you got to get me to KLOS like in 30 minutes. And he did, because I didn't want to miss your show.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be tardy, although it's very rock and roll to be tardy, but I didn't want to do that. You know, I didn't want to keep these fine people waiting here.
Yeah. Because we normally do it at 12 o'clock, so...
Yeah, there was a bunch of stuff that got changed around, and my schedule's pretty nuts as it can be sometimes. And today was just one of those days. So you guys were very accommodating. We're here. We made it work, and we're gonna make some audio history right now.
What's your busiest thing? Is your band, your podcast? What keeps you the busiest the most?
I think right now, and the last time I did your show, we were here in LA, and we haven't stopped touring since.
Yeah.
Because musically, we now have 3 top 15 singles. 2 of them are top 10. And thank you, yes. And when you get that sort of momentum like we have with Fozzy now, you got to stay out there. So I just finished a whole 5-week tour of the States like 2 days ago, and then had a couple days off. Then I have to come out here to do some work out here, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And then we have some more touring coming up in Australia and Canada, and then the tour cycle's done. But it's been about 19 months, so it's a long tour because the record is doing good.
You just by yourself, opening up with people?
A little bit of both. Most of it is headlining on our own.
Yeah.
When we go to Europe for festival season, you do festivals, you do your own gigs, you do some opening up gigs for whoever else is touring. You just kind of do a dog's breakfast of different types of shows.
Yeah.
But most of the touring has been us headlining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when you do your shows, do some people come because they just want to look at your muscles?
Probably, yeah, and I still have a few of them in there. They're getting the more time you spend on the tour bus, the less muscles you have. But I think when we started, there was a lot of people who came to the show out of curiosity to see, oh, it's Chris Jericho from the WWE. He's a wrestler, and boy, this probably is gonna suck. And I think we had to work twice as hard to get people's respect just because I was in the band, and that's fine. I mean, every band has some sort of a gimmick. Kiss has paint, and Slipknot wears masks, and, whoever it may be, Audioslave was a combination of these 2 bands. That's all fine and dandy, but either the music is good or it's not, And I think now over time, there are a few people that come just to see Jericho, but mostly they're Fozzy fans or both Jericho fans as well. So.
Yeah.
Music!
I mean, talking about all that, what's your wrestling fans... want to know, are you returning to the WWE?
I don't know as of right now exactly what the timeline is because, like I said, the record is doing so good. I just don't have time.
Yeah.
And I made up my mind about 8 years ago that Fozzy would be the priority because I thought we could really go somewhere with the band.
Yeah.
And we have. So the bigger the band gets, the less free time I have. I still have fun with wrestling. I still enjoy it. That's why I still pop back and forth here and there. But I don't really have any plans, and even if I did, I wouldn't tell anybody.
What does going to Impact Wrestling mean? Because I don't.
There's a couple different companies,
okay,
right? So people probably want to know if I'm going to go to a different company, and who knows? Anything is possible, but the time has to be right.
Yeah.
And like you know this, dude. When you are in show business, whatever it is, if it's wrestling or acting or music or comedy, you work very hard to get to a certain place, and once you get that momentum, you have to stay on it.
Sure.
Because, if not, it's here today, gone later today.
Yeah.
That happens all the time in show business. So for us, we really have to focus on what's going on with Fozzy and continue to build ourselves to the next level.
Yeah. You love rocking on stage?
Yeah, it's great, man. I mean, anytime there's a lot of similarities between wrestling and rock and roll because they're both live forms of entertainment. I think when you're filming like a movie or something, when you get to watch it in the theater 6 months after you filmed it, it's probably great. Filming at the time is very tedious. Take 1, take 2, take 3, this, that, and other thing. When you're live, it's live. If you make a mistake, you got to just bowl through it. You know, if the crowd is great and the band is so-so, then it's okay. If the band is great and the crowd is so-so, then it's a failure. You have to really connect with the audience and make sure that they have a great time and take them on a journey. You're the party host. A good front man, a good pro wrestler should be the host of the party and direct people into the different ways that you want them to react.
Yeah.
You know, and the best ones can do that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, all of my influences were always Paul Stanley, Freddie Mercury, Bruce Dickinson, Jagger, Bowie, all these great frontmen that had this awesome charisma. And I wanted to do that when I first started wrestling. I wanted to be the ultimate rock and roll frontman in a wrestling ring. So I stole from all those guys. And then when we started Fozzy, I took all of the characteristics that I had stolen from the frontmen and taken into wrestling and put them back into rock and roll, along with my own little flavor. And that's kind of how I kind of run my shows as the frontman of Fozzy.
Wasn't there a wrestler called Sid Vicious?
There was, yeah. And then he was called Psycho Sid. Yeah, Sid Vicious was his name, yeah. He was much bigger and stronger than the original Sid Vicious, but probably half as crazy.
That would be difficult in size, for sure.
But he was probably half as crazy, though, I'm sure.
Yeah. Sid was a...
That's a good question. That's a question I should have asked you when you did my show. Did you know there was a wrestler called Sid Vicious?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, I did.
I think there might be a wrestler called Johnny Rotten as well. I'm not kidding.
Really?
I don't think there's a wrestler called Steve Jones.
No,
though.
of course not.
There should be.
Who's going to... Steve Jones is like the most common name. And here he comes, Steve Jones.
When I was first started wrestling in Calgary, there was a guy wrestling called Ken Johnson. And I found out that wasn't even his real name. He needed his name was Ken Smith. And he needed more of a show business name. So he changed it to Ken Johnson.
Yeah.
That's true. Kind of missed the mark on that one.
Well, you know, it's funny, like in rock and roll, there's the characters like Slash. Mm-hmm. You can make a doll of Slash.
That's right.
You got the hat.
Yep.
Sid Vicious, Johnny Rotten, the look, you know, the sneer.
Lemmy.
Yeah, it's if you can make dolls of them, then you've won.
Yeah, and I think that's the same with wrestling too. You have to, you always have to have a persona.
Yeah.
I always looked at, like, if someone's going to dress up on Halloween and they want to be Chris Jericho, could they do that?
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of different eras of Jericho that you could do that.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, like when you see Slash walking down the street, oh, I know that guy. Even if you don't know what he does, you might have seen him somewhere. Yeah. And I think that's important for everybody in show business to have something that people, like I said, if
that's what you want to do,
if that's what you want, if it's in your DNA. Like for me, I was always about show business. Spend money to make money. Even when I didn't have any money, they might not have been great now, but at the time had like flashy costumes with a lot of tassels and a lot of effort put into what I was wearing on stage.
Yeah.
You know, the same thing with Fozzy. Always try and think of something like, what's my stage wear going to be for this tour? Because I'm sure it's cool for some guys to go on stage in jeans and a t-shirt. That's fine. It's never been my thing. I think you should be, like, you know, larger than life and look like a star. As Gene Simmons told me, always dress like a star. You know, if you look like a star, people will treat you as one.
Yeah. Good point.
Yes, sir.
I've got me. We should play some music.
Yeah.
Should we play Fozzy? What we got? We got Iron Maiden.
That's fine too.
Going into Fozzy, I believe.
That'd be great. How could I say no to Iron Maiden? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
One of the best bands of all time.
I love the singer that he flies planes, like big planes.
Oh, I know, yeah.
To me, that's...
And if you ever have him on your show, all he'll talk about is the intricacies of the mechanics of the plane.
All the little knobs. All the hundreds of little knobs. Jonesy's Jukebox with my guest, Chris Jericho, Iron Maiden.
It's Jonesy's Jukebox. 95.5 KLOS.
All right. Hey, it's the rock and roll. Yes.
How are you, everybody?
Hey.
You having fun out there? See, most people say it like this when they're on the stage.
You having fun out there? I want to know. Are you having fun out there? Are you ready to rock and roll? It's like Paul Stanley right there. Hey.
And I'm like, You having fun out there?
You have a different demeanor. You're not a front man. You're a guitar player.
I know.
You're Clint Eastwood cool. That's why.
I don't know about that. But Gregory Peck. No, Robert Mitchum.
Ooh, that's good.
Iggy Pop once said that. He said, I have hands like Robert Mitchum.
I guess
I don't know what that meant.
I guess it's a compliment.
Yeah,
maybe?
I guess so.
Could be somehow.
I thought he was cool, Robert Mitchum, so I took it as a compliment.
I've always admired his hands as well.
He has the finest hands in all of the land.
You need hands. Isn't that one of your gigs? Isn't that Malcolm
Malcolm
song?
McLaren sung that in the Rock and Roll Swindle, yeah.
There you go. You need hands.
You need hands.
See, everything relates to everything else,
It does.
doesn't it? Right?
It's very connected.
Yes.
Everything is very connected. Do you think, this is a deep question kind of, but do you think all humans are connected all over the world? There's a connection.
Well, you're basically talking about the Force if you're
Yeah.
a Star Wars fan. But I think that there is a connection amongst people, and I think deep down inside, everybody wants to be cool with everybody else. It's just all the elements and BS in the world that cause you to get angry, or just causes you to start shutting down. You know, like every time I sit down on an airplane, if someone sits beside me and is like, "Hey, how's it going?" You're always like, "Oh no!"
Yeah.
Like, "Oh my gosh, how dare he talk to me?"
Yeah, does it, you know?
Yeah, like right, like yeah, it's going good, but like, what am I going to say? But meanwhile, if you actually do get into a conversation, you could meet the coolest of people.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being friendly. So I do think people are connected because we're all striving from the same place. You just want to do the best you can for yourself and your family and put a smile on people's faces. That's the way I think, at least.
Well, I think the nature of a human is, at the end of the day, you just want to be loved, and love. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes you feel good to help others, or it's just there's a lot of stuff that stops you from doing that, preventing certain people, not everyone. Naturally, people they do that anyway.
You do have that, and I think that's something that I get out of being an entertainer, and whether you're on stage or wrestling or even on the radio, whoever's listening right now, I like knowing that if people are listening to Chris Jericho and Jonesy or watching one of our shows, that it's maybe a diversion, something that you need. Like I get tweets and messages all the time for people. Hey man, I was having the worst week last week. Sometimes it's even heavier than that. I was thinking about doing something stupid. Then I heard your song, or I saw this, or I listened to this podcast, or whatever it may be, and suddenly, it made me feel a lot better.
Yeah.
And now I'm over it.
Yeah.
And knowing that you can help people do that is a pretty cool feeling.
It's good to be positive. We're going to visit the Duke. When we come back,
The Duke.
the Duke of Kent.
Ooh.
We're going to pay the rent.
Okay.
It's a Cockney.
Cockney slang.
I know.
Nice boat race.
Yeah.
Good.
Chris Jericho, Jonesy's Jukebox. We'll be back in a minute. Thank you. All right. Rock and roll.
Ah, yeah.
Broadcasting from the KLOS Subaru live stage, it's Jonesy's Jukebox on 95.5 KLOS.
Stop it.
What a good-looking crowd out here today.
You ready to rock and roll?
Ah, yeah. We got some good-looking people in the crowd today.
Oh, man, it's funny. What are we doing?
We're just talking.
Yeah, we're just talking. That's it. Just relax.
We were talking about playing live. I don't know if that's on your card there. But
No, I don't. No, I only have a few pointers. Most things I don't talk about.
Right. We were just talking about how it feels when you play live and how you said
Yeah.
you might want to do some gigs coming up.
Yeah.
Just the feeling that you get. It's very euphoric when you have a great show afterwards.
The angst before the show.
Yeah.
And then a good show, and then that feeling afterwards, did something good.
Yeah.
But then if you could just cut out the other 22 hours,
That's
would be
what
great.
Alice Cooper said. He said, they don't pay me for the show. They pay me for the other 22 hours in the day getting to the show.
Yeah.
The show's free. The travel, I want 10 grand.
Talking about travel, you're going to Australia.
Yes, we're going to Australia.
Then your hometown, Canada, in November and December.
Well, the home country.
Home country,
Yeah.
sorry.
But we are playing my hometown, Winnipeg.
That's where you were brought up.
Yeah. You ever played in Winnipeg?
I don't know.
Did you guys ever tour a lot in the States, in Canada with the Pistols?
Originally, no, we didn't.
Okay.
We just did a few shows in America. We started in Atlanta, did a show in Atlanta. It was all down south.
Gotcha.
It was designed that way by our manager because he wanted to create people who hated us, and most cowboys didn't like us. We didn't play in the cool places like
Right. You didn't play CBGBs
LA.
or
We didn't do New York. We did for San Francisco was our last show. That was the closest we got to like a normal kind of rock and roll show.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of it was just crazy. Talk about being nervous before a show.
But that's people ask me, like, do you still get nervous for shows? And I think if you don't get nervous in a good way,
Yes, it.
you know, you have, like you mentioned, the angst, the butterflies in
Give
your
it up.
stomach. Yeah, I mean, I always feel that nervous energy before I go on stage or go into the ring, and it's a good feeling because it gets you excited, you know, gets you into the character and get into the groove of what you want to do.
Yeah, in the zone.
That's right.
I mean, it's a funny feeling. What is it? What is that? Is it, I wouldn't say it's a fear, but it's an anxiety. And is it like, I don't want to mess up? What is that anxiety? You know, you're going to be in front of a bunch of people, which is very anxiety-ridden anyway. Most people, one of the biggest fears are snakes and talking in front of public.
Right.
What is it, you think?
My biggest fear is talking snakes in public.
Yeah.
For me, really.
Alice Cooper holding snakes
yeah, and talking
singing in public.
I think for me, especially in the early years of Fozzy and wrestling, I always got really nervous if the crowd was small. I always felt like, oh man, like, because I felt like, what would people think if they came to this show and were expecting like this amazing, you know, spectacle and this full house, and you get there and there's like, you know, 12 people there.
Yeah.
But I learned very early on that not anybody, it's a lot easier to have a good show in front of a sold out crowd.
Of course.
But the true test of a performer, once again, wrestling, music, comedy, whatever, is having a great show in front of a small audience.
Yeah.
And making those people think and not realize that there's only 30 people there, thinking that there's 30,000.
Yeah.
And if you treat your gig that way, you know, you never punish the people that showed up. And it's the old adage, if you perform in front of 30 people, then they're going to go tell 30 people. Next time you'll have 60, and next time you have 120. And that's building that grassroots fan base. But I always used to get really nervous if it was a small crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called paying your dues,
That's right.
you know.
That's exactly right.
So you don't know if you're going to wrestle anymore,
Not sure.
even though a lot of people want to know.
Yeah, a lot of people want that, and I understand that. It's part of what I'm known for, and you know, I never definitively said I'm not going to wrestle. You know,
Yeah.
I was doing some work actually in Japan this year where wrestling's very popular, but only a few matches.
Do you get offered a lot of dough, like the Sex Pistols get offered a lot of money to do some shows again? Is it the same in
Yeah,
wrestling?
it is.
If you have a name?
It is, yeah, for sure. Because once you, as we say in the rest of it, get over, meaning like once you become something, once you have value and you have a big fan base, there'll always be people that want you to do more.
Yeah.
Like you said, the Pistols, I'm sure you get it every day. This guy's calling you, that guy's calling you, you know, the Coachella's calling you. Like, but you have to want to do it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
You're doing it for money, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it right. You have to. For me, at this point in time, I have to be excited about everything I do, creatively stimulated about it,
Yeah.
or else it just doesn't feel right to me.
Well, originally, the reunion tour that we did in '96, we broke up and we hadn't played in 20 years, and then we got offered this. We all decided, let's go out there again. And to be honest with you, not what you were saying, but a big drive was to make some dough.
Sure.
Because we never made any money
Right.
before.
I understand that too.
And everyone else is making the
Yeah.
dough from the punk thing. We never made any dough. And people were resenting that we went out on the road to make a bit of dough. People resented that, you know. And then we left it a little while. In 2003, we did some more shows. But at that point, it was like I didn't even like doing it.
Right.
You know, so we just,
But I think too, though, that you mentioned you did it for dough as one of the reasons in '96, but also it's part of your life. Like as a kid, you probably didn't realize how much influence the Sex Pistols would have
Yeah.
on the world.
Yeah.
So to go back in '96 and play those songs and see the reactions, I think you appreciate it a lot more as you grow.
Yeah.
Because when you're a kid, you just take it all for granted. This is
Yeah.
the way it's going to be always. And every band has, an influential record that everybody has T-shirts up to this
Yeah.
day.
I enjoyed it. The first,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. Was a year. We did 100 shows, and I had another band in between that, the Neurotic Outsiders. So I was really grafting there for a year, and one of the things, other than the dough, I did want to show people that we were a good rock and roll band.
Exactly.
Because initially we only did about 60 shows. We didn't do a lot of shows. Loads of people never saw us. They claim they did.
I think it's also just to finish up how the Sex Pistols really only have one record.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people realize that.
Yeah.
One album. And I think I said this when you were on my podcast. Has there ever been another band with as huge of an influence as the Pistols that only did one record? I can't name one.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
You name me one.
You name one. Anyone? Even the Partridge Family had more than one record. I think I love you.
But it's all good, man. It's all good. I've got no resentment there with
That's good, man.
anybody.
You
in the
shouldn't.
band.
You should.
It's one record. It's a good record.
It's a great record.
Talking about podcasts, you got a bleeding big podcast, didn't you?
Yeah, Talk is Jericho, actually on Westwood One. The last time I was in this room, we had a big sales meeting for Talk is Jericho when I came to Westwood One. So, we do good with it, or we, as in the royal sense.
It's you.
It's me, yeah. But as you know, it's just like your show. People come on and they don't have to worry about getting asked the same questions all the
old
time.
questions.
It's just a chat. It's a conversation. No questions. Once in a while, I'll have a few guidelines if it's someone I'm not familiar with. But if I'm not that familiar, I won't have them on the show. They have to interest me.
Yeah.
And it's not just wrestling, not just music. I do a lot of paranormal stuff. I do a lot of, comedians and movie things and pop culture stuff. And it's fun for me because I have a lot of different likes and a lot of different influences.
Yeah.
And it gives me a chance to talk to old friends, make new friends like yourself, and just hang out with a lot of cool people.
Yeah. Paranormal as in like ghosts?
Ghosts, yeah, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, UFOs, lake monsters.
Is there a dude?
Oh, there's a lot of dudes.
Like Sasquatch dudes?
Oh, there's a lot of people.
Like they're not humans?
They're not humans. They're hominoids, they're called. And people don't know what they are. Do they think, are they
They're not humanoids.
They're hominoids. Yeah, but I mean, and just to me, it's like, do I necessarily believe that there's giant ape-like creatures in the forest? Not necessarily, but it makes, if someone comes on that believes and is committed to it, it makes for a great show.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters.
Yeah, yeah.
So I enjoy that element of it as well.
Yeah. I'm a bit of a conspiracist.
I have those guys on too. What's your biggest conspiracy?
I'll get in trouble if
It's
I
hard
don't
if
know.
you say it. I had some guys on that were...
Well, my latest thing is I don't think anyone's been to the moon.
Boom. I agree. I agree. I agree the moon landing never happened, is what I think.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you the reason why. I have my cell phone right here. It's an iPhone 10 or 9, whatever. 5 years ago, the cell phone technology was like basically a flip phone, or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Now you can run your whole business on your
Yes.
cell phone. If that was the case and we went to the moon in '69, why wouldn't there be like technology that would get us there, we could live there?
Right.
And like I said, it's great food for thought. I'm never going to get in an argument or a debate
Yes.
with anybody
Yeah.
about it. But I just think it doesn't make sense to me that we don't have, weekly shuttles going to the moon with the technology that we have available.
Yeah. Well, supposedly there's
Fozzie on the moon.
that. What's that belt? The one where it's.
I think it's the Van Allen belt.
Yes. And I don't think we figured out how to go past that yet.
Yeah, and what they're basically saying, I bet you never thought you'd think Jericho and Jonesy would be talking about the Van Allen belt this afternoon.
They were a great band, Van Halen.
The Van Allen belt. Eddie Van Allen
Eddie
belt.
Van Halen.
He's a great guitar player. What they're saying is that there's a ring of like basically radioactivity
yeah.
that you could never go through as a human being on the way to the moon. So that Van Allen belt, and if it's something other than that, don't crucify us because we're not experts, but
Yeah.
there's something that people say is there that would make it humanly impossible for mankind to go to the moon.
I
So,
think whenever it was it 66, 65, you know, Kennedy, the race,
Right.
the space race.
Yeah, yeah.
And America at that time was in big turmoil.
Yeah.
You had the Vietnam War, there was the civil rights, there was a lot of stuff making discord.
Kennedy assassination, Cold War,
Yeah,
Beatles broke up.
yeah. And then and then this thing happened and it kind of brought everyone back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We landed on the moon, you know.
Yeah, go America, right?
And I think it was done in the soundstage.
Yeah, yeah. The rumor is that Stanley Kubrick, the
That
famous
was-
director, was actually behind it.
Yeah,
And there's
yeah.
actually a great film on
Yeah.
YouTube. I can't remember what it's called. You just Google it. That talks about it.
happened on the way to the moon.
Yeah.
There you go. Looks sounds like we got another fellow believer.
Thank
here.
you.
A funny thing happened on
But
the way to the
don't
moon.
take it wrong. I'm English, and you know, I think I live here, and I'm a citizen. I love America. I'm not putting it down when I say that because I'm an Englishman. So don't take it wrong.
No. We're just debating.
Yeah.
We're discussing. And
Yeah.
you never know, right? And I know this. I sat next to Buzz Aldrin once, I think at Dancing with the Stars, and I was looking at him kind of out of the side of my eye, like, I know what you
never
did.
went anywhere.
Yeah, and he was looking at me back like, you better not say anything or I'll punch you right in the face.
Which he's done before.
Hello, Buzz, if that is your real name.
Yeah. What are we doing, man?
Well,
we
only
knocking
have a
it
couple,
on the head?
Yeah, we have a couple minutes left. I want to take a chance to thank our sponsors.
Hold on 1 second. Sorry, Shovel. You got a thing tonight. At
Oh,
the
that's right. Next to Rock, it's called.
At the Roxy, right?
At the Roxy, and it's basically
judging.
it was a nationwide battle of the bands that was held by Cumulus Radio, which is the host of our fine show that we're talking on right now.
Yeah.
And there was hundreds of entries across America, and it's been narrowed down to 5 finalists. And myself, Jonathan Davis from Korn, some record label people, some Cumulus people are going to basically decide who the winner is, and the winner gets a record contract. More importantly, gets radio space. They get airplay on Cumulus radio stations. So it's a pretty big deal. So it's tonight at the Roxy.
Yeah.
I think it's free. Maybe.
don't
Is it
know.
free? It's free. If it's not free, don't say that I said that, but it
Yeah.
is free.
Tell
So-
him Chris sent you.
Yeah, Chris Jericho sent you. I'll give you 10% off tickets. Come on down to the Roxy and see who the next big, huge rock and roll band is going to be.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming by, Chris.
One of my favorite shows to do. Not joking.
Thank
I
you.
love doing your show. It's a great time.
Apparently, some people like it.
They do. A few, yeah. At least all these people.
Thank you. We're going to visit the Duke. Yes, you got some info, Mr. Shovel?
Well, we're saying goodbye here, but we wanted to thank Chronic Tacos for the lunch today on Taco Day, Wiretap Brewing and Hint Water for the beverages, Subaru for sponsoring the KLOS Subaru live stage, and of course, the amazing Chris Jericho.
Thank you. And quickly, I sent that picture of us to Duff, and I said, our hero. And he texted me back, yes, he is. Swoon.
Ooh.
Duff is swooning over you right now.
Ooh. So we're going to
Oh,
knock
yeah.
it on the head. We'll be back tomorrow. I've got Chris Kattan's going to come on the box tomorrow.
That's good.
He's playing at the Improv.
Funny guy.
tomorrow. Yeah. And that's it. Thanks for coming down here, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.